Everyone, Bill Nichols here, Bill Nichols TV. Hope you're having an awesome day. I wanted to do a Q&A episode today for a couple of reasons. One, just hit 5,000 subscribers. I want to say thanks to everybody. While that's not a giant number in the terms of some people, for me, after just a couple of months, it's a great number to hit, and I really appreciate everybody that has interacted, that has liked, that has just viewed a video, that has subscribed. Thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed, do so now. I've got some giveaways coming up and just some good general news that I want you to be able to see and get notifications on. So what I did was I went through and found emails, messages, and comments of some common questions that I'm asked, and then some that I thought were interesting. I just thought I'd do a quick Q&A today. It's kind of a little break up, kind of a different pace video, and maybe answer some questions that it seems like everybody asks. And so I'm sure that, or at least multiple people ask, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that have the same questions. So let's just jump right into it. The number one question that I get is, how do I record the screen of the DJI Go app? You can do it on your Apple iPad. I moved to a Samsung tablet. On that Samsung tablet, I put a program called AZ Recorder. AZ Recorder records the screens. It also lets me pull up a palette and draw annotations on the screen so I can circle things, I can do different things like that. And then at the end, I stop the recording. I move it to my computer. I rename it from a .mp4 to a .mov because by default the .mp4 shifts the audio and it gets all screwed up as time passes. I make it a .mov, it fixes the audio, and I bring it in Premiere. Next question. I am buying a drone. Do you recommend the Autel X Star Premium or Phantom 4? This is a question I get all the time. Which drone, between people that love Autel, that love Phantom, or hate either one of them, or like Unique? I'll tell you just my personal opinion. I think the Autel X Star Premium, it's fine. It's a good drone. If you can afford the Phantom 4, then I would probably get the Phantom 4. That's my personal preference, but a lot of people say that they don't like DJI support. I've personally never had a problem with DJI support. People say that Autel support is great. I didn't have to use it. Both of them are built really well. I'll tell you that out of the box, I think that the Phantom 4 camera is better. I think that the Autel X Star, even when you turn it down in software, it does too much sharpening. And after a while, it creates more aliasing and a little bit more patterns. But overall, they're both great. Go with what you choose. If you want to save some money and still get a hell of a drone, get the Autel. If you want to get a Phantom 4, get a Phantom 4. Do I do photography full time? Yes and no. So I am a working photographer. I shoot somewhere between 2 to 3 days a week for clients, usually on the weekends. And then I do have a regular job as well. So I work with a group of incredibly talented people that help large organizations build secure mobile apps. What is my favorite drone to fly, or that I have flown? I love flying my Inspire. I think the Inspire is great. It very stable. It's fast. It's got an awesome camera on it. I haven't got to fly like an Alta Free Fly or something from Ariane or anything like that. One of the really, one of the much larger ones. I had a Typhoon H for a little bit, sent it back. I had some issues. So probably overall the Inspire Pro. What kind of cameras do I use? So besides the drones, that I've got an X5 and an X5 on the Inspire, and then the little camera that comes on the Phantom. I'm mostly a Canon shooter. So I've got a Canon 5DSR, an 80D, which I moved to that from a 70D, and a 1DX Mark II. And then I shoot medium format. So almost all of my client work in the studio, or architecture-wise, is shot with my medium format. So I started out with a Hasselblad H4X, and then when I went into architecture and I got a technical camera, I moved to a PhaseOne IQ140, largely because the screen was so much better, and it did focus peaking and some things that you really need if you're doing movements like tilting and shifting. So I shoot on a PhaseOne medium back, and I coupled that with a Hasselblad body if I'm shooting on the SLR, like shooting headshots or portrait stuff in the studio. And then out in the field, I shoot with a technical camera with an Arca Swiss RM3Di, my PhaseOne back on there. So I'm largely a Canon and PhaseOne shooter. I don't have anything against Nikon or Sony or Fuji. Actually, like everybody out there right now is making such good stuff. You can kind of throw a dart, and whatever camera that you're going to get is going to be probably perfectly acceptable for what you need. Why don't I shoot in 4K more? Well, this is shot in 4K right now. Well, one, my big camera, my C100 Mark II, doesn't do it. There's not that much 4K out there. And for posting to YouTube, while it looks a little bit better, the compression that they do is crazy. So I shoot 4K at 305 megabits a second. and I can't remember what the YouTube target bitrate is. I think it's 16 megabits a second or 30 megabits a second. So there's a lot of compression, and I think that you still get a little bit better picture out of YouTube for the most part, shooting in 1080 if you have your settings correct. And I like shooting in 1080. That's what most of my cameras are. But for like the Lightroom stuff, I've been shooting in 4K because this camera, which is a Canon XC10, is 4K. Then I can record at 2.7K on my Mac and just upscale that by 150%. It looks great. And then if you're watching that on a screen, like a big screen, the extra resolution from the screen recording is great. What are the best camera settings? It depends. That's it. It depends on what you're doing. I get that all the time. I'll tell you on my drones, for the Inspire, I shoot with a color profile of none and a style of none. I turn the saturation down a little bit by 2. I turn the sharpness down by 1. I turn the contrast down by 1 or 2 so that I get a pretty flat look. On the Inspire with the X5 camera, I don't shoot in D-Log or Cine-like because I actually think that the D-Log setting looks like garbage. On the Phantom 4, I shoot in D-Log and I do the same thing. I do no color style and I do a custom look where I bring down the saturation, the contrast, and the saturation, contrast, and sharpness. What editing software do I use? For video, I use Premiere Pro, CC, and then for my photos, if I'm shooting on medium format, I bring those into Capture One, and everything else I bring into Lightroom. I may eventually move stuff over to Capture One, but I've used Lightroom for so long that that's where I'm very familiar with. But all my medium format stuff I do in Capture One. The stuff out of my Canons I bring into Lightroom. And then if I need to, I take that into Photoshop and do editing there. Can I do videos on my editing process? Absolutely, I will. They're going to be coming. And I'll probably start with some workflow stuff that I do. Where do I get my music from? I get this question all the time. So a couple of different places. I've used Audio Blocks and got music from there. YouTube has a gigantic music library. I've got a lot from there. And then sometimes I'll find tracks that I want to use that are commercial tracks. Then I will see what YouTube has in there. And a lot of times they've already got stuff and you'd be surprised at the caliber of artists that they have that you can use, but then you can't monetize those videos, which is fine with me. I don't monetize my videos anyway. But so if you see ads on any videos where I have music on there, it's because YouTube's putting the ads on there because they have an agreement with that artist that if that song is used in a video, that they automatically attach a license to it and that video can be monetized by that artist. Or I go out to SoundCloud, I've emailed some artists and got some tracks from them, bought their music, said, hey, I bought this, I have a small audience, would you mind if I used it? Now, so I go to SoundCloud, I go to Bandcamp, and I use the YouTube audio library. And then for some stuff, I'll go to Audio Blocks. Audio Blocks is a great service. How long have I been doing photography? As long as I can remember. I can remember shooting when I was in 7th grade with a, I want to say a Pentax K100 or K10 camera film, and I had a Vivitar film camera. And then I took a break when I was in the Marine Corps. I started shooting some digital stuff, and then I got out. And then I picked up a camera, really started shooting when I went on a trip to Ireland maybe 14, 15 years ago, and then just fell in love with photography really, in a big way then. Did I do any formal photography training? I don't know about formal, so I took some classes at a community college. We did some developing, really composition, stuff like that. And then I've done quite a few workshops and quite a few that I could recommend. So if you're into shooting portraits, I went through Peter Hurley's Headshot Intensive. The one thing that's most valuable that you'll get from Peter, more than anything, I mean, you get a lot of great technique and everything else, but is how to work with people, how to really pull their authentic selves out. And then I've taken a Photoshop with Joel Grimes. Joel Grimes is an amazing artist. His workshop, both of those workshops, they could charge double what they charge and they would still be well worth it. What is that thing holding your iPad on your computer? This little thing, I just found it. This is called a Mountie. This is the coolest little thing that there is. I'll do a review on it later, but it just clips on here, then it clips on here. Then when I'm doing Lightroom videos now, I have notes on this iPad. When I'm editing sometimes, I will pull palettes from Photoshop onto here as a second computer because I'll use a piece of software called Duet where I connect with a lightning cable to here. Then I can use this as a second monitor. You could get 2 of them and you could do 3 monitors. What kind of computer do I use? So MacBook Pro. I'm largely an Apple guy. I switched to Apple 3 years ago or so, 3 or 4 years ago. Before that, I was a staunch PC guy, but that was when Adobe didn't have the Creative Cloud, and I had bought the Adobe Master Collection on the PC, and you couldn't switch platforms, so I was a PC guy. Then they came out with Creative Cloud. I moved to Apple. I haven't looked back. So I use a MacBook Pro when I'm traveling. This is a fully decked out 15-inch MacBook Pro Retina. Then I have a Mac Pro upstairs. So I have an 8-core Mac Pro, 128 gigs of RAM. It's a beast. But I do, like, there is stuff that I do that I use it, and it's like in rendering, even though some people say that it's not much faster, a lot of rendering that I do where this thing bogs down and that doesn't. And then this, when it's rendering, gets pretty loud. Mac Pro is just dead silent. Where are the Typhoon H reviews? I would like to have them out. I did the first couple of videos. I went through 2 Typhoon H's, and it's crazy because there are, and I'm sure there's people watching this video that they're going to slam me down below, but there are people that love Unique, that hate Unique, or that want to pick everything apart. I spent a lot of time on the phone with support with Unique. My first one that I got had a bad compass in it, and the second one that I had problems as well. I sent them both back, and I've been in talks with Unique, so I'm looking at getting a Typhoon H with RealSense that I'll do another set of proper reviews on, unboxing all of that. I just think that they kind of rushed it a little bit, and there were some quality issues because the same issues that I had, a bunch of people had, and if that was all user error, then that means that the documentation was bad. So I will say that their support was great on the phone, and they're willing to help me out. I ended up sending my stuff back to BH, and that was that. What are some other channels that I like? I watch all kinds of channels. So I'll tell you photography-specific channels first. I like Devin Graham for videography. I like the stuff that Supertramp does. Curtis Judd, he has some really great lighting and sound videos. Pretty dry, but really, really good technical videos. He's got a good way of teaching. Carl Taylor, if you don't know who Carl Taylor is, he has this Carl Taylor masterclass. He's an amazing product photographer. Shoots Hasselblad. Caleb Wojcik, so he's the DIY video guy. I actually went through a little 5-day course of his that's free on basics of Premiere. Then he's got a great video editing guide. Jared Pullen for Nose Photo. Newman Films, great drone stuff in This Week in Photo. For non-photo stuff, I used to ride BMX and race BMX and road bikes and mountain bikes. I really like Scotty Kramer's channel. He's a BMX guy. He's an X Games gold medalist a couple of times. He's got an awesome channel. Daily video. I look for his video every day. It's mostly about riding BMX, but it's just well done. It's a great blog. There's this girl, Ali Spagnola, crazy talented musician and just all around funny girl. She does a ton of stuff on Snapchat. She's got a good YouTube channel. Primitive Technology. This guy doesn't talk in his videos at all. They're very long form, and he lives somewhere in Australia, and he's just building stuff with his hands, and that's it. So out of mud, out of grasses, weaving, building walls, fireplaces, saws, everything else just with his hands. Really like kind of a crazy channel. Just sit there and watch and see what he's doing. I like Gary V, and there's a bunch of other channels that I like. So that is the Q&A for today. Hope that wasn't too long. If you have more questions, keep sending them to me because I'm going to stack them up, and then every so often I'm going to do a Q&A. If there's something that you wanted answered that you didn't, ask me below. I'm going to answer it. And I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for watching and subscribing. You're awesome. You're helping me to keep this channel going. Every time that I get comments from people, it's a little bit of motivation for me to get that next video out. So I really appreciate it. So I hope you guys have an awesome week. Start this week off right, and I will see you with a video tomorrow. You keep watching, and I'll keep making videos.